Well, hello guys and welcome back to the channel, and today, as promised and still very much on time, I bring you the review of this week's chapter of Fairy Tale 487 of its name, The Third Seal. Now, this chapter was very interesting in my opinion, not because of its ending, which I think it was, again, too quick for what it should be, but the revelation that was made during said event was actually pretty cool. But without further ado, I'll get to that in its own time. Let us begin with the review. The chapter begins with the meeting between Lucy, Natsu, Brandish and Mest with the King of Magic, August himself. And Brandish tries to woo him, to woo August into thinking, not into thinking, but she starts telling him why she wants to negotiate. August asks if Jacob has been killed, which she responds no. So we now discover that Jacob has been taken prisoner, much like Brandish was, and much like Di Maria has been. And the first interesting thing of this chapter is when Brandish asks about Serena. August says he's here with me, and he doesn't really point, but he places his hand on his chest. I'm not sure if he's pointing at the jewel he has there, which it kind of looks like it's only strapping his cloak, but it could be something more than that. It could be that he was actually able to either cast an illusion on Acknowledgy and making him think that he actually killed Serena, and then he, August, trapped Serena in a sort of a parallel dimension, erasing all traces of his magic presence, so to further fool Acknowledgy into thinking that he has killed him. It's a possibility. I don't know. Maybe August did something else to him. Maybe he was able to extract Serena Magic's power, and that's why he considers that it's him, got Serena, and discarding the rest, the fact that he's a human being, so to say, he only cares about his magic power. Or he's really in a parallel dimension. We will have to wait, but I wish, and I really wish that it is as I believe it is, being that God Serena might actually be trapped in a parallel dimension, in a little pocket dimension, because that would feel like the character has more to offer to the series than it has already done. Because you guys know my opinion on Serena's defeat. I believe that it was the weakest out of all of them, and even though his opponent was Acknowledgy him, I think it was an undeserved death for the guy who claims to be the strongest mage in Fiore. But I'm not the author, and therefore, if it is as such, I will not question it. I'm just a little bit disappointed with it. Now, a second interesting point still in this page is when Natsu and Lucy talk about August's magic power, and they are like, even Mest is surprised. Because Lucy says, well, Brandish magic power is definitely high, but August, and Natsu says like, yeah, it's higher for sure. And they sound like they are a little bit, well, yeah, the guy has a high magic power, it's nothing that much. But Mest is the most worried out of them, and he even wonders if their senses have gone dull or something. Could this mean that Natsu and Lucy have developed an high, not sensibility, but a higher resistance to the strength of magic power? Because we know that magic power in and on itself is enough to make a man stand on his knees. We know that from Natsu's fight versus Gildard's in the S-Class exam. Gildard's sheer presence and magic power were enough to make Natsu fall on his knees and nearly cry his eyes off. So maybe from all the things they've gone through, Natsu and Lucy, they've developed a higher resistance to higher magic powers. Not saying they are completely immune, but maybe they're able to withstand it a little bit more and understand it a little bit more, so they are not as frightened as they were before. Because most fears come from the lack of understanding. And Mest is probably not Either he's the real one that can sense August's true magic power, or he's still very sensible to high magic power pressure. Either of those, it created a very interesting situation here that I will expect to see developed in future chapters. And now the negotiations between August and Brandish continue. But August, as we would predict, claims that Brandish is nothing more than a traitor. Even though she thinks that she's not a traitor, her speech and her actions clearly prove that she's betraying Zarev. And so August will treat her as a traitor. If he will take action or not remains to be seen, because now we're going back to the northern side of the battle, where before we see Gajeel, we see the takeover siblings, Sabretooth, taking on some Alvarez goons. But now we go to the main point of the chapter, which is the fight between Levy and Gajeel versus Bradman. And at the start of this fight now, we were actually not thinking about it, but really, Levy's mask magic is really useful. Why didn't she use it on Gajeel? Even though he claims that his lungs are made of iron, surely an extra bit of protection wouldn't hurt, right? I thought that. It happens that we discovered the reason why she put the mask, and if it really works or not. And now Bradman starts to explain a little bit of his powers, and it comes to the title of the chapter. First seal, he steals the magic from people using the magic barrier particles. Second seal, he opens the doors to the underworld, and that's when we saw the skeletons enveloping Gajeel and the others in the last chapter. And then the third seal, it's the final seal, and Bradman's body transforms into a humongous Grim Reaper form. When I saw this image, I was like, things are gonna start heating up right now. Gajeel and Levy will have a hard time into fighting this guy. And they sort of had for a while, though it could have been a little bit more. But the next interesting thing is when Bradman says that he doesn't manipulate magic power, but rather curse power. We've heard about curse power before, and yes, it was in the Tartaros arc. And the big reveal of this chapter is when we learn that Bradman is actually able to use the Tartaros members' curses. That's right, he first uses Azel's curse, which I believe was the cat-looking guy who Happy brought up to the sky and when he was about to explode himself. Then he continues to use that curse. Then he uses Torafuzar's curse, which was the guy that gave a very hard time to Gajeel in the Tartaros arc. Remember in the last chapter when I mentioned when Levy kissed Gajeel to give him some air? This is the curse that they were under that time. And so Gajeel realizes Bradman can use all the curses from the Tartaros Demons. Now, this brings me the question. The Tartaros Demons were called demons from the books of Zarev. Now, is Bradman one of such demons, or is he the one who could have wrote the books? He could have wrote the books, he could have created the demons in Zarev's name and gave each one of those a curse, being him the wielder of all curses. Now, it would be a very interesting idea, because instead of having Zarev as the creator, as we always thought, it could have been someone else. And I think that would really be able to create an interesting situation, which would take away some of Zarev's mightness. Although he's already high and mighty as it is, I believe that it would take one of his achievements, like we think, oh my god, the guy was able to create 9 or so demons, each of them with a terrifying power. And so we kind of keep wondering, how much power does this guy have? But now with this possibility, I actually thought that what if Bradman was the guy that created the curses? What if he was the guy who wrote the books of Zareth? We know that Zareth created END, which is Natsu, and he is one of the demons, but that doesn't stop Bradman from being the one who created. Maybe Bradman's power was the last thing that Zareth needed to actually make his demons more powerful, and they worked together to make it so. But this time around they are not fooled by the same trick again, and using Zero's slash Gray's father curse, or magic, not really curse, but this is the thing. Gray's father Zero power was not a curse. It is actually magic. So he claims not to be a magic user, but now he's using devil slaying magic. I believe this, and I've thought this now. This might be a small little tiny plot hole. Not that it ruins in any sense of the awesomeness of the character, but for some who claims not to use any sort of magic power, only curses, he's now using a magic which is devil slaying magic. But in a confrontation between the Ice Devil's Rage and the Iron Dragon's Roar, they seem to be quite equal in that. And the things just go on and on. Bradman tries to get them, and now we find out that Levy's mask actually didn't help anything. She only said that the magic did something so that she could go and save Gajeel. It is the good old thing, couple in love, one does a lot of things for the other, and they try to save each other no matter what. And now, for the end of the fight, Gajeel awakens a power that I believe that he recently acquired. He says, after training for a year, I've become able to use it, which is nonetheless than Dragon Force. But it seems that for this, he actually had to inhale the magic barrier particles, which he did, so he could absorb the tiny bit amounts of iron that are present in such particles. And then he becomes this awesome, almost like black lizard sort of persona, and it really matches with Gajeel. This sort of maniac and raging persona is really what makes Gajeel what it is, and that's what defines his character. Even though now he is a more caring character, I find it amusing that he never lost that sort of maniac, and not maniac in the bad sense of the word, but that he never lost that rage that he has inside of him. When he needs to do it, he does it, and he doesn't care how he does it. It's kind of like Wolverine, if you think about it. If I had to compare them, Gajeel would certainly be a parallel with Wolverine, because Wolverine is not a bad guy, but when he needs to be, he makes a mess out of the situation if needs be, and he doesn't care for the consequences for himself or for the guy he's fighting. He goes on full throttle, and that's how Gajeel went. And after an exchange of fists, Bradman is defeated. Now, I enjoyed this battle much more than I enjoyed, for instance, the battle against Nainhart. And don't get me wrong, I did enjoy Nainhart's character and his magic, but just the battle and how he was defeated, I thought it didn't make justice to the character. I enjoyed more the on-site battles against these zombies than the actual fight against himself. But Gajeel's fight against Bradman is far from over, because while he's dying, he promises to take Gajeel with him. And the chapter ends with this desperate moment. And this ending, even though the battle against Bradman was faster than I was anticipating, this ending actually makes up for it, because this is the kind of desperate situation that I was hoping that this saga would get. Ending a chapter into thinking, my god, Gajeel is going to be consumed, he's going to die. And being like this for a week and then coming the next chapter and finding out that's probably not like that, it's what I was expecting to see in this saga. It sounds a bit masochist, but I was expecting for a chapter like this, for the chapter to end, and for us, or in this case just me, to stay 1 week thinking, my god, how will he go, well, how will we get out of the situation? Because Bradman was not totally defeated. In the other fights, the other members were completely defeated in the chapter, and the following chapter, he would be defeated on laying on the ground and things would move on. But with this chapter, it's not the case. Bradman is not yet defeated and is trying to take Gajeel with him. So, I am safe to assume that Gajeel will not actually die. I mean, to lose one of the 7 dragon slayers like this would be kind of an anticlimax. So, and given the name of the next chapter, which is the two of us together forever and always, I assume that it will be time for Levy to shine, and to actually save Gajeel for once, and completing her objective, which is to go and save Gajeel. So I believe the next chapter will revolve around that, and then after Bradman is completely and finally defeated, we'll maybe see one of those cute scenes between Levy and Gajeel. Maybe finally a kiss, an official kiss, to start the relation with the right foot. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed the review of this week's chapter of Fairy Tail. I believe it was a little bit longer. I've thought, well, no, 17 minutes. I talked a little bit more than I was expecting to, but I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you keep supporting the channel as you've always been. Coming right away, we have the review of this week's chapter of the 7 Deadly Sins, which finally is spacing up, and I'm really content and happy with this week's chapter, because it finally moved, even if a tiny little inch, from the action of the last chapter. So, without further ado, I say my goodbyes to you from Fairy Tail this week. I managed to record the videos on time today and not having them late, and I will see you in the next video, so bye bye.